It's Tuesday, July 5th, 2016. I'm Rim.
I'm scared.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, speedruns and other exhibitions of video game prowess.
Let's do this.
I'm kind of feeling roller coasters. I've been thinking about roller coasters a lot. Like, that clock hasn't rung in a long time, and it's really ringing.
What? Okay, whatever.
Like, I just really want to ride a roller coaster.
All right.
So I'm thinking about going to ride a roller coaster.
All right.
Okay. You've been very unexcited about pretty much everything lately. Are you dying? Is that what's going on?
What's there to be excited about?
I don't know. It's summer. We can bike. Stuff's nice.
I'm doing that.
All right. You're not excited about it?
What is there to say?
Is there anything you're excited about in the entire world? All right, then.
The weather's still good? It's going to stay good for a while?
Tycho tweeted the other day, and he was like, basically, it appears that he encountered fascination for the first time. And fascination is a thing that's not widely known. It was very popular in, like, the 50s, like the late 50s, early 60s. And by the 70s, it was basically gone from all the places that it existed. Except Cedar Point, which had one of the first rigs, and it was like a big deal there. It was there at Cedar Point from 1955 until like the 2000s, when they finally got rid of it because no one cares about what is actually kind of a shitty game.
We could just make a fascination if you really wanted one.
Yeah, but you could
As long as someone maintains the memory of how the game is played, anyone can make one if they ever wanted to.
Yep.
Actually, that would be a good thing for someone to make a digital version of on phones that everyone, like, it's like, all right, and everyone just fascinates.
And in fact, you want to make it a little engaging, like you have to flick the balls up, so it's all like that kind of
Obviously,
skill.
it's a dexterity game to begin with.
Yeah, even though it isn't, it's just a random game that you cannot...
Obviously, we'd put lots of randomness into the physics engine after you play your dexterity bit, but it's basically multiplayer Angry Birds.
But, so this game, he tweeted about it, and I just remembered that it existed, and... This is like the second time it had disappeared from my life, and then out of nowhere, I bump into it somewhere I didn't expect.
In Wildwood, they had it.
Yeah, that was some years ago. We go to Wildwood one year, and I'm like, what? Fascination? There's no way. And we walk in, and it's totally it. So I can't vouch for the chain of custody, but I found a blog that claims that at least some of the Fascination set that is in Wildwood was the one they took from Cedar Point. I can't verify that. I don't even know how I could verify that other than trying to call people. That could be some investigative journalism. But what I did find is a photo, because the building, that area of Cedar Point was just a really cool area because it was built in the 50s, that part. The park was already old at that point, and they built like this brand new modern pavilion and like this giant convention center and all these buildings, and Fascination was a part of it. So I found this photo from... the 90s, it looks like, and you can see the Fascination building there. And I found this other photo from the 50s, and you can see that it's literally identical and unchanged. The only difference is the clothing the people are wearing. It's good stuff. So I could kind of want to go to Cedar Point like real bad. That I saw that photo and I was like, oh man. And then I spent like 10 minutes just looking at pictures of like the Millennium Force.
So just go.
I'm thinking about it. I think
who's gonna stop you?
I gotta find a free weekend. We got a lot of shit going on.
You can just go. You can just go like tomorrow and be back in time for Kineticon.
I could, except I got shit to do. So if I got shit to do for Kineticon,
don't do that shit.
All right. Anyway, you got any news? Because there's actually a lot of gaming news suddenly.
Yeah, there's one ginormous gaming news. Yep. So it's been sort of a half news for a while, right? This is one of those news stories where when it first showed up, I was like, that's not news. I read about that like a month ago, which is that the non-news is that people are basically gambling on esports using things in Steam to launder the money, right? So I think we explained this, and we talked about this when it was news to begin with, but just to reiterate, so you're maybe underage, or maybe you're in a place...
If you're betting on esports, you're almost definitely under the age of 18, or do not have a credit card.
Or maybe, right, you want to bet on something that you normally are not allowed to bet on, sports gambling, and you want to bet on esports. Like, I bet Rim is going to win this Counterstrike match, or I bet Dago's going to win this Street Fighter.
So in other words, you're already a moron.
Right, you're already a moron betting on this. So you go, and you can't use real money for this because you get to shut the fuck down in jail and bad stuff. And a company that wants to facilitate that obviously can't do it with real money because even the FanDuel and DraftKings, which are enormous, had, bajillions of dollars, were advertising all over TV. Huge companies got shut down, right? Because you can't get away with that. So what people did is they said, all right, everyone, turn your money into like Counterstrike skins. We'll gamble the skins. And then you can turn it back into money, and it'll be money laundering, and it'll totally work. And it worked, and it still works today. You can do this.
Now, that is not the whole story. That's just like one tiny piece of this.
That's the old news. We talked about that a long time ago when it started happening, and it's not new. Here's the new thing. So there was a site that was facilitating this sort of gambling. Okay. This site was being promoted on certain Counter-Strike streamers' YouTube channels.
Yep, shouty man.
Right. So obviously, if you're a Counter-Strike streamer, that's the kind of sponsor you're going to get. It makes total sense. Okay. Those YouTube streamers were revealed to have been the owners of that site. So this is like...
It's like, what did you say? It's like if I ran 3-card Monty and I played against my own 3-card Monty in a YouTube stream, and I was winning a ton of money, because look how fucking great I am at this. Isn't it amazing?
Right. It's basically...
You should also play this 3-card Monty that I don't own.
They didn't reveal the fact that they owned this company. They just pretended like they were being sponsored by it, and then they were on stream or on YouTube would, gamble and win. So it's like if I went into the Scott casino and you didn't know that I was Scott, and I made a video of myself at the roulette table, and it just kept landing on my number, and I was raking it in. I'm like, wow, everyone, this Scott casino was just sponsoring me. They're paying me to advertise how great they are. But look, I came here and I'm totally raking it in, like at the roulette table. Holy shit, everyone, you got to come down to the Scott casino. It's crazy. But you didn't know that it literally not only was me owning the casino, but also that roulette table is rigged, and if you come to the Scott casino, you're going to lose all your money.
And the whole casino is built on top of a giant money laundering ring.
Right, so these guys got caught and revealed.
Now, what's amazing...
And it's a huge fiasco.
This is it's almost like another step toward big boy times with esports, because that's the kind of corruption that you get in real things where there's real money. But they're not real big time yet. They're little baby money. And the reason there's still little baby money is that this is such it's such baby's first scam. Like, it took, what was it, Honor the Call? Someone posted a video, like they figured this out. It took basically a few minutes of investigative journalism to figure out what was going on. Like, this was not the best and brightest minds in organized crime. Yeah. This is like a couple steps below Fat Tony and the Simpsons.
But the regulated casinos of the world, you should take bets on esports, because apparently people want to make those bets.
Yeah, but the people who want to make those bets are probably dumb young kids who don't have
And they only have
cards.
Counter-Strike skins to bet. They don't have money to bet.
Yep. So if you'll take Counter-Strike skins, if I can go to your casino, give you a Counter-Strike skin, and get chips, then we're going to talk.
It's also noteworthy that like Valve has, shut them down to an extent, but Valve has not like done everything within their power that they could do if they wanted to shut this down.
Well, the problem is there's no way to 100% shut this kind of thing down, just because unless you remove the markets for skins.
I'm waiting for the shoe to drop and the government to come after pretty much everyone who has sort of a currency, like Steam has Steam money that can be exchanged into real money. Like, I'm surprised they haven't in all these years gone after like Second Life money, which can be turned into real money.
I think the only reason they haven't is not enough money.
Or EVE Online money, which can be turned into real money, right? Eventually, the government is going to, or governments of the world will go after these things.
Even if they can't be turned back into real money directly, they can still be used for these purposes because they have a value, because there is a market, even if that market's entirely within these ecosystems.
Yes, but would you bet a picture of Abraham Lincoln that could get you a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich? And even if you won, and the winnings were huge, you can get $1 million, but those $1 million could only be used to buy Pokeballs in Pokemon.
Yeah.
You would not make that bet because you'd rather have $5 of real money that can be used for anything.
But the problem
is more valuable than $1 bazillion that can only be used for worthless Counter-Strike skins.
If you made it the other way, like in Overwatch, there's skins, right? Like there's all this stuff. there's no way to trade them with other people. You can just get them.
They do that on purpose because they don't want this kind of shit to happen.
Yeah, it's a one-way valve. They come into you, and they can't ever go away from you. You can't like sell your sweet sick skin to someone.
Yep.
But like the directness of this scam is almost insulting. Quote,
but
the
Valve
controversy
makes mad
surrounding
money on this, right? Because they make a cut every time you make a, you sell some shit on Steam.
So it wasn't even worse. They were, from what I read, they were going so far as to make fake videos, like straight up rigged matches as part of all this. Like, it goes so
because it's not like
deep.
you're going to find the server and spectate it and see and watch the match.
Yeah. You know what it's like? It's like if I made a betting ring, but it's not even the Sting. Remember that World WWF wrestling board game from the late 80s?
No.
Well, it came with a VHS tape, and
maybe I do.
occasionally in the game, you'd both like get a wrestler, like I get Hulk Hogan and you get Andre the Giant, and then you'd watch like a part of the VHS tape and you'd see the match, and whichever wrestler won, you got points. It'd be like if I ran a betting ring on that VHS tape.
Oh, if you haven't seen the movie The Sting, it's maybe like I can't make a ranking right now, but top 50 movies of all time ever, period.
It's a real good movie.
In the history of human beings. So you have to see that it's a necessary movie for all human beings to watch.
But watch that movie
regardless of actual rank.
and realize that what the characters pull off in that movie is so far beyond the little baby scam that happened here.
Yep. And even The Sting, which when you watch it seems like pro mode, is not even close to real pro mode.
Yeah. So I guess esports is starting to come of age, but the problem is you're going to get basically any time like an industry appears like this and gets to a certain level, there's a lot of obvious dumb scams that you could do to make a lot of money, and no one bigger than you or smarter than you is paying attention enough to stop you. Like if you try to do like baby's first scam in like the drug trade or any of the things that the real mafia's in,
you'll be dead.
They'll either kill you or they'll take all your money.
Yeah, it's like people who know how 3-card money works and go to one and start winning. Yeah, you know what happens when you walk away from the 3-card money? They come and beat you up and take the money back. Yeah. That's how it works.
But here, like,
you're not smart.
No one big is watching this yet. So small fry took out smaller fry. There's way more similar level corruption and nonsense going on in this realm. The moral of all of this: don't bet on esports. It's the dumbest thing you could do.
First of all, betting at all is dumb because even if you bet in a regulated, non-cheating place like a real legit casino, the house always wins. And even
have you ever bought a stock?
It's
just a sliding scale. I'm just saying. But no, you're right. Don't go to casinos. Don't bet money in casinos. If you're going to bet money, at least bet money that you expect to lose.
But if you're going to bet money, bet it in that legit casino and not in some unregulated crazy house.
Yeah, because look.
They can just take your money and not give you anything back because they fuck you. We're not regulated. You just gave me money for nothing. Uh-huh.
Yeah, at least in the casino, they take your money, but then they give you like free food.
It's like if the casino doesn't give you money when you give them the chips back, like the cops will come and make them do it, right? Or they'll get shut. Things will happen. But if you buy some chips at the, random, if you buy some Counterstrike skins to gamble with, and they don't give you money in exchange for skins, you're just fucked. You're sitting there with a fancy-looking gun, and that's it.
But it's interesting because they did this shadily to make their money and be semi-legal. Like, they advertised the site like it was an open site. But Bitcoin exists. They weren't even big enough fry to just do it, like, directly with Bitcoins. Think about that. They had to go a step below Bitcoin as their currency.
Well, I think it's because their target audience couldn't get Bitcoins. Their target audience, though, is kids who have time and don't even have credit cards, so they can just play Counterstrike and get skins and then bet with them. And
it's
then
literally
if like you're a kid, you have no money, so you play Counterstrike and you win some skins by playing Counterstrike. You just earn it with time, which you have plenty of. And then you can turn those skins into a bunch of money to buy Steam games if you gamble and win with them, as opposed to grinding even more.
And Steam games are worth way more to kids that age than
to kids who
real
have
money.
so much free time. Yeah.
Yep. It's just I don't have a lot of sympathy for the people who are betting on this stuff because how do you not see this coming? But at the same time, yeah, I kind of expecting all this to get shut down, and maybe some of these people go to jail. Like I don't think so. Because I don't think it's even big enough time.
I don't think there's any DA or anything or federal agent or anyone who's even noticed this thing has happened.
Yeah.
It is not, the Justice Department isn't even like a paper in their office anywhere.
But in a way, it's kind of like the scammers who only target small drug dealers because the small drug dealer can't call the police on you.
When they were a drug dealer.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, but they're targeting the same kinds of kids who buy games. They trade their games in at the electronics boutique.
Mm-hmm.
So in other news, there's an article on Kotaku, and it was making the rounds. I kind of feel like I got to talk about it because it is such...
Kotaku's still around?
Yeah, that's part of my news.
Okay.
But, well, actually, interestingly, when I Googled for the thing we just talked about, the number one result is a bunch of Kotaku articles, not any other site.
Are you
So
sure
whatever.
this is a true story?
The other thing, not this thing, your thing.
Oh, okay.
Your thing, Kotaku is like the number one source when I Googled. But anyway, this thing, it's just an op-ed on Kotaku about Overwatch, but it was titled, Overwatch's competitive mode is at odds with the rest of the game. That's the kind of thing that someone like us might say in a panel and then try to back it up with some evidence. And I saw a lot of people commenting on this, but this article is sort of amazing because it's basically complaining about it's like you're complaining about a banana because it's yellow and it tastes good and you could throw the peel on the ground and someone might slip on it and that's funny. Like complaining about the thing for being the thing it is, and complaining about the thing for the thing that the thing is supposed to be. So basically, the article talks about how Overwatch players have a certain sort of expectation of the game, like you're going to keep leveling up, like you're always progressing, that it's not a super serious competition, that you can just sort of play for fun, that the matchmaking is very individually driven, so you can just randomly play with people, it'll always be fun. And he's mad that because the competitive mode exists, people who are serious about the game look down on the non-competitive mode as not being the real game.
What do you care what someone else does? You don't like the competitive mode, don't play it. What does it matter whether it exists or not?
He's mad that the people who are in competitive mode, if he plays in it,
that's like if you're playing in the
little.
That's like if you're playing in the Little League and you're mad the Major League Baseball exists.
Yeah.
It's like you can just not watch it and not pay attention to it and just keep playing a Little League game. What's the problem?
Yep. But he's also like, he gets into pretty specific detail about like how you level up in the normal game, but then in the competitive game, you might level down. Like that feels real bad.
Don't suck.
It feels bad to have an ELO ranking.
If you suck, don't play it then.
Yeah.
What's the problem? I mean, this isn't new. This is like 100-year-old news, right? There are people who are gamers who actually want to compete and test their skills against each other and see who is better.
But then there's other people.
And then you think this is a false dichotomy because it's like you're splitting things right down the middle. But it's like, no, it's not a false dichotomy at all. There are two types of gamers. The kinds who want to compete and see who's better, and the kinds who just like playing a game and want to just enjoy the act of playing it and just want to feel good all the time and don't care about testing their skills or seeing who's better than anyone else.
Now, that's fine. Both kinds of gaming are totally legitimate.
Right, but what's being mad that the other kind of person exists? It's like, it'd be one thing if Overwatch was only competitive mode now, but it's not, so who the fuck cares?
Yeah, but it's interesting that I've never seen, we were talking about this the other day, I've never seen an article that was so on the nose of someone basically saying, I really just want to climb into that Skinner box and never come out.
Right.
Just give me that variable reward schedule.
That's the one thing that really gets me, right? Is like you look and it's like, when you imagine a rat in a Skinner box or a person playing an RPG or, a Candy Crush, you think, there's a person, they have, you see the psychology there, like, they are trapped in this loop of, reward and, right? It's like, I see what has happened to them. But for the person to be, you imagine the rat doesn't realize what's going on, right? The rat is just eating food and doing its thing. But for the person to know, like, I know I'm in a Skinner box. I know how a Skinner box works. I know everything that's going on here. There's no mystery here. I see behind the curtain. I like what I see behind the curtain.
But I see out the window outside the Skinner box, and I'm mad that exists.
Right. I am happy to be in the Skinner box. I don't want the Skinner box to change how it works. I like what's going on behind that curtain. I love being in here. But I'm mad that there's a world outside of the Skinner box that has been brought to my attention.
I mean, here's a line from the article, and this is exquisite. So let's say you win a 40-minute match only to find that your skill rating level bar barely budges. That's fucking unsatisfying. Partially on an intrinsic level, but mostly because Overwatch previously trained us to A, expect short matches, and B, expect big rewards after those short matches. Like,
So don't. Well, first of all, don't play competitive mode.
But second, what rewards? There's no rewards. It's just a game. You either win or lose. You don't level up anything. A number goes up. That number means literally nothing.
Oh, it does if you're a person who likes numbers going up.
But the
like
number,
someone who plays Candy Crush.
The only thing the number is ever meant to me is sometimes I see someone who has a really, really high number, but then they're not good, and I just feel bad for them because I know they've played way more than me.
Listen, most people seem to like, they even that's the weird part is even though they recognize that this number is just a number, they still like it. And it's like, I feel like once you recognize what's going on, then it doesn't work. It shouldn't work on you anymore.
When Neo saw through the Matrix, he didn't immediately go and eat a steak.
Right. It's like, you see the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, and even the fucking dumbass Tin Man who has no brain. He is the one with no brain, right?
No.
Who has no brain?
Scarecrow.
The Scarecrow goes and he looks behind. And he sees that the Wizard of Oz is not really this magic hologram thing. It's just a dude behind a curtain. And even him with no brain is like, oh, this is a bunch of horse shit. Right? But meanwhile, this dude is a Scarecrow going behind the curtain and say, oh, I see it's a guy behind the curtain, but don't take my fucking hologram away. I'm worshiping this hologram. Stay the fuck away, curtain man. Don't turn that shit off.
Now, in general, though, the people who, like I said, people are playing Overwatch and seem to not super like competitive mode. I've seen a common theme, and this is kind of my point here. The common theme among most of those people is that they're playing by themselves, and they're salty that the matchmaking is not accommodating them that well, and that the game
Isn't it like the best matchmaking there is?
It is, but Overwatch was, from the very beginning, it is a team game. It is a team of 6 versus a team of 6. It'd be like if I complained that the Detroit Lions are doing crappily, even though one of their players is super good. Like, that player should be ranked up onto a different team.
That's how all professional sports are.
Yeah. So the only complaints I'm seeing of normal
Except
people...
basketball, where one person can carry the team.
There's this article where someone pointed out the Skinner box from the inside and dared you to take it away from him. And then everyone else is just mad about the fact that the game's actually a team game and you really got to play with a team. Like, you got to have 5 friends or it's not that good of a game. That's just like, it's like every game the game before it in this vein. It's a team game. You're playing a team game to win teams.
If you're really good at a game or believe you're really good at a game and you're sad because you keep losing all the time and you keep blaming it on your team and and your name is not Alexander Ovechkin, you can go play a tiny-ass violin somewhere. All right.
So I got one last little news because this kind of happened today, and it's just how are people so bad at this? Ubisoft, which has had problems in the past,
which is like one of the worst game publishers there is, maybe the worst. Even they're like them and EA are the 2 worst video game publishers of AAA games on Earth.
It's like on the other end of the spectrum, you got Blizzard, who was just like by the numbers doing everything.
Blizzard
right.
is Activision; they're not perfect.
Yeah, but
they're worse than they used to be.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're knocking everything that they focus on out of the park.
A game publisher developer that does everything right, no matter
everything
what.
Right. The small team that made Advance Wars.
That you mean Nintendo, and it's not a small team.
Yeah.
I guess the Zachtronics guy who keeps making the programming games.
Oh, yeah.
He seems to self-publish them.
But anyway, Ubisoft put out a gamer survey to find out stuff about gamers. And the first question it asks is if you're male or female. If you say female, it immediately ends and says, thank you for taking the time to complete the survey. Unfortunately, your profile does not suit our profile for this survey.
All right, so first of all, if you're doing a survey and someone wants to give you free information...
Yeah, don't turn it away.
Why would you turn it away? 2, usually, if you're running you're a survey company, that's what you do. If you only want to know about like what dudes like and what, various demographics, old people, young people, Americans, other people from other countries, you do reports on the data you've collected. So when you're all done collecting all this data, you can just be like, select from survey where gender equals M, and you'll only get that data, and it doesn't matter whether you collected the other data or not. So to filter it out, but also to tell the user, you could even let them do the survey and just throw the data away.
Yeah, but especially...
But to tell the user, but it's free data, why wouldn't you just collect it?
But especially in 2016.
Why would you tell them and create this fiasco?
Because, we know that there's a problem with the way
dumb
gamers
are
treat
you?
women. It's like...
Well, Ubisoft doesn't. Ubisoft is one of the bad publishers who treats women poorly.
Now, they claimed a little while ago that, quote...
There's a bug?
There was an error in the setup of the survey.
Uh-huh.
It is now resolved and available to everyone.
Uh-huh.
Apologies for any confusion.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Also, anyone who's doing fucking surveys why are you fucking helping Ubisoft by giving them your information? Stop doing surveys for people. The only survey you should be doing is the Steam hardware survey.
Yeah, that one's real important, actually.
Don't do any other video game related surveys.
Yeah. Things of the day. I have to, because the 4th of July was yesterday, at least have one 4th of July themed thing. And I do. This is the best tweet I've seen.
Somebody celebrating the birth of our nation by blowing up a small part of it?
This tweet is titled, all caps, ahem, "Who the fuck lit fireworks in Walmart?"
Why are there... I didn't know Walmart sold fireworks. I guess if you're in Florida, they do.
If you're in every state
Tennessee.
except, like, New York.
Yeah, okay.
But someone set an entire fireworks aisle on fire in a Walmart.
My hero. I wonder what the insurance payout is.
Like, I disapprove of what happened because that's dangerous and property destruction, but I approve of the tweet that I got to enjoy this in from
It's okay to do it to Walmart. Fuck them.
They're not even the worst anymore. Like, they're not.
What's worse
bad.
than Walmart?
So I got a real thing of the day, and you just got to see this. It's just, I tweeted it, I retweeted the thing, and you should just click in here and see what's going on.
After 3 clicks, I realized what it was, and then didn't continue the.
I followed it to its source, and it was kind of worth it.
You really have no time?
It's only like 20 deep. Like, it's not that far.
I thought it was super deep.
No, it wasn't as deep as you expected.
I mean, after 3, I'm like, oh, I haven't got time for this shit.
Yep. But yeah, it was a few clicks in. I was like, oh, I see what's going on here. And then I was like, how far down does the rabbit hole go? So you got a thing of the day?
Yeah, so this dude commits a misdemeanor in this video. So crime on film here. Watch out. So they're at some bridge somewhere. I guess it's a car bridge that drives across like a river. And he jumps off, but he's not doing the usual, which would be bungee jumping or base jumping, right? Because you need a span. A bridge, I guess, counts as a span in the S in base, right?
Yep.
He's got a rope, and it's just a rope. So you're thinking, whoa, that could be dangerous, just a rope. Usually you bungee jump with the bungee thing because then you won't die. But he jumps off in such a way so as to not bungee and die, or Spider-Man Gwen Stacy yank and die, but instead to swing majestically.
And therefore, best part of this video is the face he's making.
Yeah, he's got his GoPro on a stick, and he's got it in slow-mo, and you can see his friends down at the bottom. And I wish he would have kept videoing when the cops came and gave him the ticket. But yeah.
If I were the cop, I would give him the ticket, and then I would ask him if I could come back when I was off duty and do it.
I would totally do this. This seems great. As long as I knew the river was deep enough and someone else did it first.
It's the kind of thing, when growing up, I did a lot of reckless things with friends, like out in the woods, involving rope swings and jumping off of shit and whatever. But I had a very specific rule. Someone else had to do it and survive before I would do it, no matter what it was.
That's my rule for a lot of things.
So,
like
yes,
cybernetic implants.
I would do this.
Or replacing my body with a robot body.
In the meta moment, the book club book was, long ago, The Wheel of Time. The first of the Wheel of Time. I finished the 14th book of the Wheel of Time.
Is that the last one?
There's no more Wheel of Time. I know everything.
You've gone around the whole wheel.
Yep.
You're out of time.
No more time.
Done with time.
I made my time. My time is done. Move Randall Tor. And yeah, so the next book club book will be Oryx and Crake.
It's much shorter than even one book of Wheel of Time. So even though we've been talking about this book for a long time and not actually doing the episode on it, I'm going to start reading it probably like today.
I'm going to start reading it.
And we should be able to do the episode on it like in a couple weeks.
In fact, if there's a lot of downtime at Connecticut, I might just finish it between traveling to and from Connecticut.
Maybe.
The thing is, it's a race because the next Prince of Nothing book comes out like any day.
But I have to reread so many Princes of Nothing.
So a couple of years ago, reread the first trilogy, so I don't need to reread that again.
I did, but I still have to reread again because I forgot half the proper nouns.
The thing, a lot of them don't matter. Like, you don't really need the Ione.
What's an Ione?
They're the ones with the steel masks, right?
And who are the evil, like...
Shisharim?
No, the priests who wear, like, red and are totally, like, evil like the Mafia.
Oh, the
not the priests, the wizards who were evil with the red, like the Mafia.
That was one of the Gnostic schools, or the anagogic schools.
Yeah, what does the Tusk say?
Oh, no, we don't know what the fucking Tusk says.
Who's the guy who hangs out with the Tusk? Beard guy.
Oh, the priest guy?
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
The Pope guy, basically.
Oh, that's all complicated after what happens in the first series.
I know, but I'm just saying, what's his name? That
doesn't
guy.
matter. He's dead.
Is he dead?
You don't remember shit, do you?
I don't think he's dead.
Did you read all the books that came out after?
Yes.
Did I come before you?
Anyway.
A lot of people are dead by the end of the books that were written up to this
Pretty
point.
sure that guy's not dead.
He's dead.
We'll talk about this after the show.
Didn't he die at the end of the book we just read?
No, you're thinking about a different guy.
Maybe. Anyway, The Prince of Nothing is like our favorite fantasy series ever, and we've done a bunch of episodes.
But I have
on
to
it.
put a huge content warning on it.
Yeah, trigger warnings.
The dude who writes it is like mad misogynistic.
Yeah.
And the books reflect this. The books also have stuff that I probably like. If I saw it in a movie, I might get sick, and usually I don't get sick at anything in a movie, not even like Ichi the Killer.
Like so interestingly, Scott, Wheel of Time does similar things later on. Like shit
Really?
gets like when you start finding out about how compulsion works, it is the Prince of Nothing compulsion. Like 100%. In fact, it's kind of worse because it's real bad if you try to take it out of someone's brain.
Anyway,
yeah, Prince of Nothing.
Is that with the rod of the Oath Rod?
The Oath Rod does stuff like that. The Oath Rod does a lot of bad things to you.
Yeah, okay.
There's pain involved and heartache and misery and shortened lifespans and it's good. It's bad news. But yeah, we really like the Prince of Nothing series. All caveats notwithstanding.
It combines philosophy, wizards, and history.
Yep, and it's also a nice
and
sort of
sci-fi aliens.
It's also a sort of mishmash
At least
of like,
and the bad guy is a sarcophagus inside of a tornado. And
it's got some Tolkien deconstruction, like what would elves really be like that kind of thing. Like for real, what would elves be like?
Awesome Barbarios also.
Yeah, Skilvendi.
Barbario.
It's also a very quotable series.
Trackless Step.
Yeah. Anyway, so
we're
yeah,
not reading that book. We're reading Oryx and Crake.
We're gonna read Oryx and Crake, and we're gonna do a review of it. Even though everyone's telling me I should have done The Handmaid's Tale, it's more relevant to modern American politics.
Whatever,
like
just read all. Just read all that shit.
Yeah,
we got time.
Otherwise, we're gonna be at Kineticon this weekend. Like it's happening. We're gonna be there. We're running the panels department. We're doing some panels as well. I forget when they are, but we're doing foreign anime openers on Friday. We're doing more foreign anime openers on Saturday. We're doing professional podcasting and live streaming on Sunday. We're doing Atari game design, and we're doing writing game rules. I think that's it, because I just didn't really want to do a lot of panels this year. Otherwise, a bunch of smart people we know are doing panels. We made the panel. Well, I made the panel schedule. I think it's actually the best panel schedule this con has ever had in terms of content. Like, I'm actually pretty proud of it.
Okay.
And if you try to use the website that Kineticon has to let you see that schedule, I highly recommend you complain to them about the font. So the first speedrun I ever saw that sort of made me really realize what the hell that was that Mario 3 thing that we saw at RIT.
This was so long ago. It's not any Mario 3 that you've ever seen. But
this was like earliest days of YouTube.
Right. It was pretty much just World 8-1, right? The final world. And
it was more than 8-1. It was a few bits of World 8.
Yeah, it was a bunch of World 8. And normally I would just, I think a speedrun, you'd fly over the P-Wing or something, but he didn't do that. Right? I mean, it was an auto-scroller, but it's basically super optimized, like jumping on the cannonballs in like a ridiculous way. It was like basically a miracle that the person could do this.
Because it turned out a person couldn't do it. That, at least in that case, that was
I'm sure maybe a person can do it now.
Yeah, but that was a tool-assisted speedrun. And it was interesting because up until that point, when I thought of that, I kind of had the idea of like a speed run, because it wasn't like gamer pop culture had not really crystallized all these ideas.
Right. I mean, there were people playing video games for speed. Metroid told you how long it took for you to beat it, and people tried to get faster times.
People set records. And,
there were
various contests.
There were various games that had time as opposed to score, and people, had always been doing high score attack, but people were also doing time attack. It just hadn't become a phenomenon until Games Done Quick really made it into a community. With two major events every year, one of which is going on right now.
Yep.
And for some according to Rim, we've never done an episode on this.
I couldn't find an episode on this.
If we're wrong,
it's my fault.
Blame Rim.
100% my fault.
If we've done this episode already.
No, there was a community for this before AGDQ sort of did its thing, but you kind of had to know. And people were still sort of arguing and fighting about like what counted, what the terminology was, like how exactly do you measure this, which emulators are like legit for it.
Streaming also made it a big thing because you could see people, practicing, and that made other people get hooked on practicing and watching other people, and it let people share their techniques with each other. Before that, people would have to record and like share videos directly with each other. That Mario 3 thing we watched, was like an MP4 we download.
Yeah.
It might have even been an AVI.
This was like pre-YouTube days, guys. So what happened was basically, now that there's a community around it, live streaming is a thing, YouTube exists, and the internet exists, and everyone has access to it, and anime and gaming and all these conventions are like super easy and widespread, it was like the perfect time for an explosion. And it got to the point to where people started breaking records that no one ever thought would be broken.
Right? I mean, it really exploded like 3 or 4 years ago, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger constantly every single year.
Like every year, I look at the schedule of AGDQ, and I'm shocked by at least one of the attempts that they're about to make. Like,
and it's
really?
like, you think, it's like, are there really new games they can go after? Are there really ways they can improve upon the games they're already
Dude, they're
playing?
still improving Final Fantasy IV speedruns.
Right, and then on top of that, there's always, even for one game, there'll be so many different modes. Any percent, 100%, blindfolded. It's like,
I'm really into that 100% Bionic Commando in 30 minutes. That's
I
on
just
that schedule.
watched Blindfolded Symphony of the Night today.
Holy crap.
It's like, are you kidding me? This dude couldn't see. He had problems in the library buying stuff, but one of the but the point is like he still beat Symphony of the Night without seeing, only audio cues.
Dude, I'm not 100% guaranteed to beat it non-blindfolded if I have all the time in the world.
I am.
I haven't played it in a long time. I think I might die a bunch.
It's not a hard game.
No, but I'm sure I'd die a bunch if I just picked it up right now. I haven't played a Metroidvania in at least 3 years. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I might die maybe in the Upside Down Castle if I sort of rush and don't take it easy.
But I remember what was also interesting about that speedrun, that Mario 3 one that we saw, that really sort of like got me interested in this. That's why I got into the community in those days. Not doing it, I'll never be that good.
No.
But like finding them and watching them and learning about them was that it wasn't just a like Fox only Final Destination style, like heavy set mouth breather, staring at the screen, not saying anything, perfect run, doing no extraneous actions. This was parkour. This was a show.
Right.
This was someone showing off, taking risks.
Right, because I mean, think about it. You have this video game, and you have to beat it as fast as you can. And you have to do this without hacking the game. It's like normally you'd hack the game, right? Or, you do something like that. But no, only by pressing the buttons on the controller and doing nothing else. You're not allowed, you can push the buttons on the console too, like the reset button maybe, depending on the rules. But all you can do is push buttons. So how can you beat the game faster? You think about like Mario 1, it's like, well, hold B and right and jump and don't ever let go of right or B unless you got to shoot a fireball or something.
Yeah.
It's like, is that really as fast as you can go? And then you start to see things like basic techniques. For example, in Symphony of the Night, they have the thing where you turn backwards, do a backdash, and then bring your shield out to cancel the animation. So you go, and you go really, really fast because the backdash is really fast. And by canceling it with the shield, you can just keep backdashing constantly without, the sort of ending animation of it and go whoosh much faster than you could run just going forward.
Yep.
So suddenly when you see someone playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night, they're always going backwards, going and that's like beginner mode of speedrun.
Yep. And then what this is culminated into, and I guess my favorite thing now, is that the community is so big that there can be races with 2, 3, 4 people playing a multi-hour game in a race, sometimes even taking different routes, so you don't even know who's ahead until the end, and they finish within seconds of each other.
Yep.
Like, that is the point that we're in today.
And they're optimizing so much to where they're like, I'm doing the safety strat. It only loses like 2 seconds versus it means that when they're not doing the safety strat, because it's not AGDQ or SGDQ, they do this other thing that is much riskier just to save 2 seconds.
Because some people are going for the world record. Like you try over and over and over
and those
again.
2 seconds keep adding up, right? 2 seconds here, 2 seconds there. Suddenly you're a minute faster.
But because of the performance aspect of it, and this is like the generation where AGDQ made this happen, by turning it into a performance, the tool-assisted runs are like their own sort of thing. And a guy did it 1,000,000 times, and the video you see of his world record is the best of them. It's very different when it is a performance where there's a human in front of an audience, a giant audience live, performing for you.
Right, but the tool-assisted ones are actually really important because even though, you might not be impressed with them because a person didn't do it. It took a lot of work to make it because a person sat there going through the game frame by frame, figuring out the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Even though it didn't take as much skill, it took a lot more effort. But also, by doing those tool-assisted speedruns, it gives the people doing the by-hand real speedruns something to look at and say, aha, that's the fastest way. let's see how much of that it's possible for a human to do. And there's a lot of like frame perfect things that people can do very consistently because they're gods.
Now, I think I was watching one of the earlier ones. It was the most recent Link Between Worlds DS run, and 3DS. And the guy was just sort of talking, and he gets to one point where he's like, "All right, this move coming up, I got to be almost frame perfect." And then they start talking to each other about how many frames they have to input the command. And then one of them laughs and points out something that, hey, coming up is the other one, the frame perfect one. Literally, you have to input a control on one specific frame or it fails,
right?
And it's punishing.
So for people who don't understand, when you program a video game, almost every video game is programmed using this very similar coding structure where you have a loop, the main loop, and basically the loop starts and a bunch of code gets executed. So the computer's doing math. And then when it gets to the very bottom of the loop, it basically has to draw the screen. So if your screen is, 1080p's, you've got 1080 by, pixels, right, to draw. And it basically has to create in memory, which color it goes in all those pixels. So this pixel's green, this pixel's blue, and so on. And then it puts that, array of color information to the video card, and then it gets drawn on the monitor. And if your game is running at, say, 60 FPS, that loop has to go all the way through 60 times every second. Also, in this loop is the code that says, are they pressing A? If they're pressing A, make Mario jump. If he's on the ground, obviously, right? So that code is happening 60 times a second, which means in any given second, you could press A on it's cut into 60 slices, right? So 1/60th, if it's a 60 FPS game, every 60th of a second, it would be a difference. So if you push A on the first 60th or the second 60th, it's impossible to push A on anywhere in between that because the loop executes one at a time, right? So you have 60 chances every second in a 60 FPS game. So if it's a 30 FPS game, you have 30 chances every second to press the button. And you have to press it on an exact, very specific one of those loops. Like that loop, the 10th one, is the one where you have to push the button. That's how hard this is to do a frame perfect thing. So it's like, oh my God, you have 1 second in the game, and on this one fraction of that second, that's when you had to press the button.
Now, I guess what also I like, but this is sort of a wider point that's it's affecting a lot of people who make content or do streams or anything on the internet, but because live streaming has such a strong community now, and because these speedrun people are pushing this art as far as they can already, unless you are of that caliber, you have to be so good to even warrant anyone watching you at this point.
Well, they seem to have this big community going on, and you can go to their website, and even though if you were to say there are always people when I watch this who oh, we got a new guy playing Super Metroid. Super Metroid is the most speedrun game, but someone will just start doing it, and they learned everything from the previous people by watching them, and they have skills. So they level up and become just as good, if not better, than the people already doing it in a short matter of time because they have skills. But there are people with less skills who choose less popular games, and because there's less competition there, right? And you think, you pick some weirdo game.
Well, the best example of this ever, watch the speedrun on AGDQ of Super Pitfall. It is hilarious because that game is so bad and so broken and so glitchy, and the guy doing the speedrun knows literally everything there is to know about the game.
Right? I mean, I've seen speedruns on there, people are doing Lion King, and it's how many? And there's a community of people. It's probably only less than 10 people, but it's they're the Lion King speedrunners. There's that many people on Earth who are putting effort into playing that game as fast as possible, and they send someone multiple people to the game's done quick, and you watch them play it, and it's wow, it only took 10 people to optimize the hell out of this game. Holy shit. And it's so no matter, you can get into this with a lower level of skill, because even if you're not the person who can push the button with frame perfect timing, you can still contribute in many ways, right? By simply trying it, you can find tricks to help the guy who can execute them.
Yeah.
You can do the tool-assisted speedrun to figure everything out. There's so many things you can do in this community if you want to, if that's your interest. The thing is, This is one of those hobbies where I think it can only be meaningful if you dedicate a huge amount of time to it. Like, you make it your thing. Like,
you can't dabble.
You can't, do too many other hobbies. Like, if you're also like an anime fan and you're making a webcomic, you can't be also speedrunning. Right? But if you're only speedrunning, I notice a lot of the speedrun people speedrun multiple games. Because once you sort of get the skills of speedrunning, you can sort of do a lot of similar games or a lot of games for the same system, or, you can really work yourself up and, get a huge repertoire and not just concentrate on one game only.
Yep. I guess my favorite speedruns now are the live performance ones with good commentary. Like someone who is kind of talking about the game or doing something interesting while they're playing. It's not just the speedrun.
I like the ones where there are things in the game that you just like don't think of, right? Like a boring one is like just he runs to the right as fast as the game lets him and jumps and everything.
Yeah.
But the more weird stuff
the Final Fantasy IV one where they got the random seed in a certain way and then he knew like what every encounter would be along the way for like hours of this game.
Yeah, the weirder trick you found, the more fascinating thing that way to speed up this game that you have discovered, and that's awesomer to look at, right? That makes it more interesting from a spectator's perspective.
Yep. And I do appreciate, I hate to say this, I think the showmanship of AGDQ is getting to the point where it's sort of surpassing a lot of what the competitive game circuit does. Like, take your average fighting game tournament versus your average live streamer event. Live streamer events tend to have better production values and better announcing and everything. But it might be a side effect of the fact that there aren't as many actual events. Like, it's not like a ladder.
Well, it's a charity organization. It's not like a profit organization. That's,
Yeah, but I'm saying they do a really good job.
Yeah.
And it's...
Well, I know the people doing it, right? And they're like the people who do that kind of stuff like at a PAX or at a convention, but they're just really good at it.
Yeah.
But they're doing it, volunteering because it's, they want to help it out.
So the other thing I'm enjoying lately is the weird mode speed runs. Like the example I came up with that no one's done
Blindfold, 2P1C.
Yeah. Or like Mario 2, you're not allowed to run.
Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of nonsense. It's basically gum tape deathmatch.
Right. It's like, you could just make things more interesting. Blindfolded Punch Out, started off as like, well, I can sort of get to Mike Tyson. Then they were beating Mike Tyson no problem the next year, blindfolded. Right? Now the guy just beat Blindfolded Symphony of the Night. What's next? You're gonna be like, well, Blindfolded Super Metroid. It's like...
I want to wait for the point where a guy's like, instead of a controller, I'm manipulating the wires. I've shoved them into my fingers.
Right. The 2P1C is really good. We get two people on one controller, and so like one person's got the arrows, another person has the buttons. That's really fun.
Especially when they're still
like, how
pulling
much
off
do they practice?
Perfect moves.
Right. It's like they practice that much. Well, it's like if you both, think about it. If I play this game and I get the perfect muscle memory in my left and right hand, and you get the same exact muscle memory in your left and right hand, we just say your left hand and my right hand, and my left hand is probably twitching behind my back, and your right hand's twitching behind your back.
Yep.
But we just both hands on the 1C, and it's impressive, but really, is it any different? That's how they do it.
Yeah. It feels different if you use your left hand, though.
Maybe.
Got anything else to say? I think we're petering out here. Kind of hungry.
No, I'm hungry.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geek Nights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
The patrons for this episode of Geek Nights, in order of the amount of money they give us on a continuing basis, are Alan Joyce, Rebecca Dunn, Nicholas Brandau, Heidi McNichol, Amanda Duchette, James David White, Christian Kuntz, Construction Noises, MyStady.com, Sean Hayworth, William Eisenrose, Jeremy Miner, Chris Reimer, and Thomas Hahn, Sailor Vista, Devin Goodman, Iggy Kidd, Matthew Smith, Kajar Tavish, and Joe Schroer, Joe Star, Tyler Eller, Don Schleiss, Sean Yeager, Clinton Walton, Ren from New Zealand, Ryan Perrin, Drew Openlander, Rare Lavelle, Brian Cedroni, Rochelle Montanona, Finn Eric Silverod, Chris Reimer, and Thomas Hahn, Aaron Cerise, Chris Midkiff, Chris Knox, Sam Cordery, Daniel Redmond, Sean Klein, Chris Reimer, and Thomas Hahn. I tried real hard to not laugh during that one. You guys, I don't even know what to say. So Kineticon is this weekend. I know we've been a little bit behind on like the Q&A, partly it's just like pulling teeth to Scott to ever do it, but also just we've been super crazy busy. So we're going to make it up with a bunch of extra bonus Patreon content and extra stuff for you $5 people as well in the near future. We might not do a regular Geek Nuts on Thursday, but I think Emily and I might do a roomly review of Fargo Season 1 and Fargo Season 2. I'll probably put one of those at least on the actual like Geek Nights website as a Thursday episode, and the other one will be patrons only just for you guys. But Kineticon is the last significant thing that we had to do that took time out of our lives other than just like work and doing Geek Nights. So after this weekend, things calm down, and the Patreon's going to start having a lot more stuff. I got to edit the Utenas, start uploading those. There's a lot of Civ 5 videos to upload. Lots and lots of stuff. Atari game design I still have to get together. I'm going to start hitting that queue of all the stuff we haven't done yet. And also, maybe Scott will try to play Overwatch, but I suspect he won't. So yeah, see you at Kineticon maybe. And otherwise, I leave you with your moment of kind of the opposite of Zen.
What's your favorite idea? Mine is being creative. How do you get the idea? I just try to think creatively. When you look at this orange, tell me please, what do you see? Just a boring old orange. Or maybe to you, but not to me. I see a silly face, walking along and smiling at me. I don't see what you mean. Cause you're not thinking creatively.
Really not good.
Hair. I use my hair to express
It's not very good at all. Not good at all.
Not very good.
Not very good. I don't like it very
It's Tuesday, July 5th, 2016. I'm Rim.
I'm scared.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, speedruns and other exhibitions of video game prowess. Let's do this. I'm kind of feeling roller coasters. I've been thinking about roller coasters a lot. Like, that clock hasn't rung in a long time, and it's really ringing.
What? Okay, whatever.
Like, I just really want to ride a roller coaster.
All right.
So I'm thinking about going to ride a roller coaster.
All right.
Okay. You've been very unexcited about pretty much everything lately. Are you dying? Is that what's going on?
What's there to be excited about?
I don't know. It's summer. We can bike. Stuff's nice.
I'm doing that.
All right. You're not excited about it?
What is there to say?
Is there anything you're excited about in the entire world? All right, then.
The weather's still good? It's going to stay good for a while?
Tycho tweeted the other day, and he was like, basically, it appears that he encountered fascination for the first time. And fascination is a thing that's not widely known. It was very popular in like the 50s, like the late 50s, early 60s. And by the 70s, it was basically gone from all the places that it existed. Except Cedar Point, which had one of the first rigs, and it was like a big deal there. It was there at Cedar Point from 1955 until like the 2000s, when they finally got rid of it because no one cares about what is actually kind of a shitty game.
We could just make a fascination if you really wanted one.
Yeah, but you could.
As long as someone maintains the memory of how the game is played, anyone can make one if they ever wanted to.
Yep.
Actually, that would be a good thing for someone to make a digital version of on phones that everyone like. It's like, all right, and everyone just fascinates.
And in fact, you want to make it a little engaging. Like you have to flick the balls up, so it's all like that kind of.
Obviously,
skill.
it's a dexterity game to begin with.
Yeah, even though it isn't, it's just a random game that you cannot.
Obviously, we'd put lots of randomness into the physics engine after you play your dexterity bit, but it's basically multiplayer Angry Birds.
But so this game, he tweeted about it, and I just remembered that it existed, and this is like the second time it had disappeared from my life, and then out of nowhere, I bump into it somewhere I didn't expect.
In Wildwood, they had it.
Yeah, that was some years ago. We go to Wildwood one year, and I'm like, what? Fascination? There's no way. And we walk in, and it's totally it. So I can't vouch for the chain of custody, but I found a blog that claims that at least some of the Fascination set that is in Wildwood was the one they took from Cedar Point. I can't verify that. I don't even know how I could verify that other than trying to call people. That could be some investigative journalism. But what I did find is a photo, because the building, that area of Cedar Point was just a really cool area because it was built in the 50s, that part. The park was already old at that point, and they built like this brand new modern pavilion and like this giant convention center and all these buildings, and Fascination was a part of it. So I found this photo from the 90s, it looks like, and you can see the Fascination building there. And I found this other photo from the 50s, and you can see that it's literally identical and unchanged. The only difference is the clothing the people are wearing. It's good stuff. So I could kind of want to go to Cedar Point like real bad. That I saw that photo and I was like, oh man. And then I spent like 10 minutes just looking at pictures of like the Millennium Force.
So just go.
I'm thinking about it. I think
who's gonna stop you?
I gotta find a free weekend. We had a lot of shit going on.
You can just go. You can just go like tomorrow and be back in time for Kineticon.
I could, except I got shit to do. So if I got shit to do for Kineticon,
don't do that shit.
All right. Anyway, you got any news? Because there's actually a lot of gaming news suddenly.
Yeah, there's one ginormous gaming news. Yep. So it's been sort of a half news for a while, right? This is one of those news stories where when it first showed up, I was like, that's not news. I read about that like a month ago, which is that the non-news is that people are basically gambling on esports using things in Steam to launder the money, right? So I think we explained this and we talked about this when it was news to begin with, but just to reiterate, so you're maybe underage, or maybe you're in a place...
If you're betting on esports, you're almost definitely under the age of 18, or do not have a credit card.
Or maybe, right, you want to bet on something that you normally are not allowed to bet on, sports gambling, and you want to bet on esports. Like, I bet Rim is going to win this Counterstrike match, or I bet Dago's going to win this Street Fighter.
So in other words, you're already a moron.
Right, you're already a moron betting on this. So you go, and you can't use real money for this because you get to shut the fuck down in jail and bad stuff. And a company that wants to facilitate that obviously can't do it with real money because even the FanDuel and DraftKings, which are enormous, had bajillions of dollars, were advertising all over TV. Huge companies got shut down, right? Because you can't get away with that. So what people did is they said, all right, everyone, turn your money into like Counter-Strike skins. We'll gamble the skins. And then you can turn it back into money, and it'll be money laundering, and it'll totally work. And it worked, and it still works today. You can do this.
Now, that is not the whole story. That's just like one tiny piece of this.
That's the old news. We talked about that a long time ago when it started happening, and it's not new. Here's the new thing. So there was a site that was facilitating this sort of gambling. Okay. This site was being promoted on certain Counter-Strike streamers' YouTube channels.
Yep, shouty man.
Right. So obviously, if you're a Counter-Strike streamer, that's the kind of sponsor you're going to get. It makes total sense. Okay. Those YouTube streamers were revealed to have been the owners of that site. So this is like...
It's like, what did you say? It's like if I ran 3-Card Monty and I played against my own 3-Card Monty in a YouTube stream, and I was winning a ton of money, because look how fucking great I am at this. Isn't it amazing?
Right. It's basically...
You should also play this 3-Card Monty that I don't own.
They didn't reveal the fact that they owned this company. They just pretended like they were being sponsored by it. And then they were on stream or on YouTube would, gamble and win. So it's like if I went into the Scott Casino and you didn't know that I was Scott, and I made a video of myself at the roulette table, and it just kept landing on my number, and I was raking it in. I'm like, wow, everyone, this Scott Casino was just sponsoring me. They're paying me to advertise how great they are. But look, I came here and I'm totally raking it in, like at the roulette table. Holy shit, everyone, you got to come down to the Scott Casino. It's crazy. But you didn't know that it literally not only was, me owning the casino, but also that roulette table is rigged, and if you come to the Scott Casino, you're going to lose all your money.
And the whole casino is built on top of a giant money laundering ring.
Right, so these guys got caught and revealed.
Now, what's amazing...
And it's a huge fiasco.